when you're at home and you're moving through a pandemic and you've got babies at home or kids at home, multi-generational households, all these pressures, that has massive implications on someone's ability to access online learning.
We were trying to email people that didn't have their own email address. They shared it with the whole family. Then even if we got devices for the students, they didn't have internet.
Just think about how tough it was for us when the pandemic moved everything online and we had such a huge learning curve. It's 5 or 10 times more challenging for newcomers.
When we're looking at the digital divide, it typically means at its core access to technology and access to the internet and connectivity. But then people look at a sort of a second tier within the digital divide because you may, for example, and newcomers are a great example, you may identify a household that has a device, in many cases a smartphone, and a connection, in many cases a data plan. And so you would assume, okay, these people are digitally connected. They're not part of the digital divide. But then if you look below the surface a little bit, well, their data plan is maybe small. That device is shared amongst 5 people, for example. So at any given time, that device may be used by the head of the household and not accessible, or it might be, the child who's doing virtual learning.
Digital services and programming can be a positive thing. It has increased accessibility for certain kinds of community members. It has enabled them to more conveniently access different pieces of information, different programming and services, which is excellent. And then for a significant amount of people, it has actually done the reverse.
The Settlement Sector and Technology Task Group is managed by AMSA and reports to IRCC's National Settlement and Integration Council. We're tasked to basically discover, examine, and learn about the sector's needs to successfully implement digital and hybrid service delivery models. Some of the things that we're looking at are equity of access, accessibility issues when it comes to technology, the importance of security, privacy, and confidentiality, as well as data management of information, looking at professional development for staff, including digital literacy, the idea of different competencies for different kinds of staff, looking at what the organizational changes are that would support digital transformation in organizations. So we're learning a lot now about not just interesting projects, but interesting trends and challenges across the sector. And that's something that, for example, in the Settlement Sector and Technology Task Group, we're trying to kind of get a handle on. For management, for example, we're finding a combination of their challenges around organizational digital transformation and how to, they're having to flip and do it really quickly.
The period in which we moved our teams from diversity locations, physical locations, to providing remote or digital services, it all happened within 1 week for us. It was very quick. It's shifted things quite significantly. I would say it's advanced our digital innovation or technological innovation by about 10 years. We were very fortunate at Diversity. We had pre-existing systems set up already before COVID hit. That was a VPN. It was, smart voice. We were already engaging in some of these technological innovations before COVID hit, but it certainly pushed us further in a quicker pace.
We have 350 staff. So all of a sudden we had to equip them with the tools and the equipment and the knowledge that they needed. So I remember that time when we were just scrabbling to find, phones for everyone, computers for everyone, setting up virtual private networks, which were, happened to be new to me, and also a communication platform, because now just plain old email wasn't going to be enough, and sometimes telephoning isn't enough. So we had to figure that out. We had to think about things like confidentiality and which kind of programs we could use and where is the data being stored. And we had to kind of think about all of those things while still getting everyone equipped with what they needed. So, of course, we ran our tech support and IT colleagues ragged, and they've been fantastic. They've been a huge support for us while we were going through this pivot. Some of our colleagues in the sector did contact me to ask a couple of questions. So that was really good to be able to offer some of that information and advice, because I fully understand that smaller organizations just do not have the resources, the human resources to tackle some of these issues. And, for as much as Mosaic did, as much as we did, we were still struggling. So I know that the struggle was very real for smaller organizations.
We are a really small community. We're in the northwest of BC, roughly 1,300 kilometers away from Vancouver. And I am the program manager of the English Language and Multicultural Services program at Smithers Community Services. As a small center, we're chronically underfunded, under-resourced, but our services are touching a lot of different areas of people's lives, and the people working for a community service in a smaller center, they often wear a lot of different hats. We still have areas where there is no internet, and we have areas where there is no high speed or no fiber, right? So our clients, all of a sudden, they needed services more than ever, but there was no way we could provide the service in person. So we needed to find a way how we can connect with our clients who didn't have access to technology. And that was when we said we need to work on this, and we started a project called Digital Equity. The two big things that we focus on in this project is actually providing people with the technology they need. So we're trying to get money, funding, to buy equipment for people so that we actually can gift laptops to clients. We redirected the existing funding into salary that would help us to get a digital literacy trainer, a teacher who could help with teaching us and teaching actually our clients. We were actually able to provide technology packages. That means a laptop, a headset, and a mouse for all students in need in our link class.
What we're finding is really interesting examples of settlement practitioner innovation and use of technology, and how they've adapted to being completely remote and doing digital work.
Mosaic provided over 200 devices to some of our clients who didn't have anything at all that they could rely on.
We have, for the LINK program, we have asynchronous activities. So if they're studying, for example, about how to find an apartment or how to deal with housing problems, they're all interactive presentations, videos, everything that they could just work on online by themselves. When they can do it at 10 o'clock at night, they can do it at 6 o'clock in the morning or whenever it's free, right? We had a meeting with the teachers a few weeks ago and said, what is working at the lower levels? What are you finding is successful? And they're telling me, for example, that YouTube videos are very, making a video, like creating a PowerPoint with some vocabulary and putting the words and then putting it on YouTube, it works a little better than logging into the online and into the Moodle. So we can create learning objects that are a bit flexible. We can put them on the Moodle, but they can also be links that we can send by email.
All the supports that we are providing is individual. We don't have groups, because what is happening is that there is a huge a range of skills, right? And then when we go individually, we tackle exactly what people need at that moment. And then through that, we identify also ways of continue supporting them in other areas that might benefit them, not only to access the service, and this I'm going to go a little bit further with the clients, it's also that they're building skills that are employable skills. So way beyond of just accessing the service. We had a little bit of funds available, so we provided more hours to one position to develop these tutorials, how to access the PDF files, how to send an email, like very, very basic tech.
One thing that teachers have done and are doing right now is peer tutoring. So they have higher level students helping the lower level students. So maybe meeting the teacher and the higher level student for some minutes and then helping them to understand instructions and worksheets and other tasks they need to be done.
Part of the work that we've been doing since October of 2020 is to really survey the sector. So we've surveyed the sector, we're doing interviews with the sector and running some focus groups to try to get an entire picture from all stakeholders possible of what the experience has been, but mostly to also look forward so we can start making recommendations to IRCC about moving forward. IRCC recognizes that we're moving towards a digital, a hybrid, or a blended service delivery model in the sector. So what does that need to look like? We've done the national survey, which has given us a tremendous amount of useful information already about where the sector is at and what some of the challenges are that we need to overcome moving forward.
I think the online environment is very new for us. We've had years to figure out how to teach beginner students in a face-to-face class. We've had 30 years of doing it. So of course we've come up with a few strategies after 30 years, but we've been online with beginners for a year maybe. And so it's all new. It's going to take time to develop the techniques, and each level it's harder. Yes, it's going to take time.
What COVID has demonstrated time and time again is the inequities that existed before COVID hit, and COVID has just compounded those so much, and digital inequity is certainly one of them.
Our survey respondents suggested that when you combine low digital literacy with some of these other digital divide issues with language barriers, it creates whole additional challenges for online service delivery. And so if we're moving in this direction as a sector, we need to really explore what we mean by digital equity and inclusion and figure out how we can address it, or else we're going to be leaving clients and newcomers behind.
How do we make sure that we're meeting everyone where they're at as we look at innovation and digital technology and innovation? And let's not lose sight of that when we see some wonderful efficiencies that have been created with technology and digital service provision, which I know can be very appealing to funders, especially because it's low touch, it's cost effective, it can demonstrate higher numbers. So I do think that the sector is moving forward with a blended service provision, and we will build our organizations and approaches on that blended approach. But we need to make sure that we're looking at the intent of our work. We are human services, and so we can't leave that behind. You know, as the settlement sector is really the first place that a lot of folks have a connect point to Canada, we have a lot of power for providing more of an equitable start to their time here.